Well, boys, here we are. It has to be said up front that Amazon was looking a uphill battle right in the face from the start. The Fallout fan base has been bitterly divided for some time. In general, it seems to break down along the lines of fans of Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and New Vegas against the fans of the quote Bethesda Fallout or games 3, 4, and 76. The latter group being the one more likely to enjoy this show, in my opinion. I'll admit my biases right out the gate. I came of age playing Fallout 1 and 2. I remember being 14 years old and sitting on my bed next to my brother, watching and listening to our friend Chris as he tells us about this epic adventure he had in this post apocalyptic wasteland, standing and acting out scenes for us, and a year or two later, we had cobbled together enough spare PC parts from our friends that we managed to get one working, and having borrowed the disc from a friend, we inserted it into the computer and waited for about over an hour in order for the game to install, because this was the 90s and our PC was a Frankenstein potato plugged into a light socket. But eventually we heard that iconic music of the Interplay logo and we knew we were about to have an incredible time. That is not what I felt watching this show. When I saw the promotional trailers and photos, I knew this would be Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. This was not the serious, bleak, and somewhat depressing Fallout of my personal favorite, and Fallout 2, nor was it the more grounded and slightly more realistic Fallout of New Vegas. This was Fallout as a theme park, like 4, like 76. This was something else. The series opens to a pre-war scene in less than a minute. Our first taste of the absolute deluge of fan service moments is walked by as the Mr. Handy offers an assistance to a woman as she turns off the radio and continues serving her guests, trying to tune out the chatter of nuclear war on the TV and keeping everyone focused on the party. Some bros crack jokes and disrespect Walton Goggins in front of his daughter, and he, like a true Chad, turns the insults of strangers into a compliment for his daughter. Well played, sir. Goggins is a famous Hollywood actor and now reduced to children's parties in his iconic cowboy regalia. Dick number one insists he do his classic thumbs up, but Goggins politely declines due to the state of everything. The kids' birthday party continues, and the kids get some cake and settle down to watch Krognak the Barbarian, brought to you by Sugar Bombs. Because of course they do. Meanwhile, Goggins explains to his curious daughter why he wouldn't do the thumbs up, telling her that it was how he was taught to measure the size of a mushroom cloud to determine whether there was a chance for safety or not. And right on cue, as soon as he goes inside to wrestle her up a slice of cake, a bomb goes off. And I actually like this scene. Both actors do a really good job of selling the fear and disbelief as they see the mushroom cloud blooming in the distance. The blast eventually bursts out all the windows, and as everyone panics and flees, Goggins scoops up his daughter, mounts his horse Sugarfoot, and rides as fast as they can as more bombs begin to drop in the distance. Flash forward 219 years, and we're introduced to Lucy McLean, giving a list of her skills and traits in another, albeit slightly more cleverly done callback to the games, as she proposes a marriage trade with another Vault, since the only marriage partner she can attract is her cousin, and they have strict rules on that kind of thing for a reason. Christ, they even use the sound effects from the Pip-Boy for this show. 10 years ago, I would have found myself seal clapping at that, but now I just find it makes me suspicious. So everyone is helping get ready for the marriage celebration as Lucy's application for marriage is approved. I really like the way Vault life is portrayed, with each bride who wears the dress writes their names on it. It's a nice touch. Good job, show. Lucy and her dad, who also happens to be overseer, share a moment and talk about missing mom and the usual pre-marriage stuff. They go to the doors to meet the other Vault for the exchange, and Lucy's cousin tries to delay by saying the door won't work. And for the second time now, in the first 15 minutes, we have our reference to cousin on cousin action. Hoo boy. So Vault 32 sends some people to Overseer's chat, and Lucy's new husband steps up, and who would have guessed? He's totally hot. Now, given that the trailers all showed Lucy in the wasteland, and seeing as how everything is going so well, the twist is about as obvious as an albino at the Apollo. There's a celebration, and while everyone parties, Lucy goes and gets railed by her new hottie husband. When the first 32 Vault dwellers stabbed food off a 33 residents' plate, I was like, yep, yeah, they're raiders. This is obvious. They're being grimy, their hair's not combed, this is ridiculous. Which, while incredibly obvious, I thought was kind of neat. I mean, the execution in the show is about as effective as an elevator in an outhouse, but the games have shown that what happens when Vaults fall victim to raiders like the Fiends in New Vegas, so I thought it would at least deserve a point of originality for at least adopting the very poorly executed version of Subterfuge. After Lucy gets piped down, she sees her husband cleaning the piping with the curtains, and her brother walks through the doors to discover the original dead residents of 32, and a slew of slow-motion violence occurs, and it reminded me eerily of the promotional trailer for Fallout 76. I also appreciate that Lucy isn't a Mary Sue and actually gets the shit beat out of her a few times, even getting a knife in the gut from her new bow. Also, Stimpaks. Yay. Remember those guys? Remember Stimpaks? So the raiders from 32 massacre a bunch of people, and Lucy's pregnant friend is an absolute beast. Takes the fork to the eye and still keeps on kicking. Because of course she does. Lucy saves her brother, but oh no, her husband's not dead. But Daddy takes a shovel to his face, then drowns him in a barrel of water that's there for some reason. Good job, Dad. They make a run for it, but oh no, Vault 32 boss lady has hostages and a bomb. She makes Dad a choice. The hostages are his daughter. He chooses his daughter, I think. I mean, he just kind of puts her behind the door, then he gets a bunch of tranks pumped into him. Then Boss Lady tells Lucy she looks like her mother, and then tells the hostages to run and hide and sets off the bomb with enough time for the hostages to get away. Because of course she does. Cut to a Brotherhood of Steel training camp where some guy is getting his ass kicked and his name is Maximus apparently. He's not having a good time. He gets a question wrong in class, gets smacked, and then the Pridwin shows up. Because of course it does. And then they drop off a couple of Steel Knights in full power armor. Because of course it does. And one of the recruits even remarks about how it's the T-60 model. Because of course he does. I'm going to say it, the power armor looks like shit. They look like they're made of plastic, and all the slow motion shots don't hide that they look and feel fake. I don't know how they could have done better. I'm just saying that it looks like shit. At this rate, we're almost on track with the acquisition of power armor in Fallout 4, so if Maximus gets a minigun and ventilates a Deathclaw within the next 10 minutes, I would not be surprised. Max's friend gets made squire over him, Knight Titus, and they celebrate because they're going to the wild. Max is quite upset and sulks. The next morning, somebody puts a razor in his friend's boot and she gets her leg torn up and Max is led away in a hood. Moving on. Vault 33 is cleaning up from the attack. Lucy wants to look for her father and no one else does. Lucy's brother makes the salient observation that they don't want to find him because then they wouldn't get to be in charge if they found the original overseer. So Lucy says, fuck that, I'm going to do it myself, and with the help of her brother and cousin, escapes the vault to look for her dad. Outside, she gets her first look at the wasteland, and the show does a good job with this. The contrast of the desolation all around her and her okie dokie plucky attitude amped up to 11 to compensate is a nice contrast and sets up a great start to the fish out of water narrative. Also, Ella Pornell's portrayal of Lucy's wide-eyed innocence kind of reminds me a little bit of Elijah Wood as Frodo in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I think the casting was great here. They needed to have someone attractive, but not overwhelmingly so, and she's capable but naive and clearly over her head, but her implacable optimism kind of gives her that lovable Kimmy Schmidt vibe. And it fits nice for the setting, I think. Max is brought to interrogation and is asked about his friend's injury. They accuse him of the act, and we get some backstory in the form of a flashback. He admits that though he didn't hurt his friend, he secretly wanted it to happen, asking, "Is that wrong?" and is greeted with the only correct reply, "Yes." He's lectured to, and he thinks he's going to be executed, or at least I think he's going to be executed, and he thanks them for the opportunity they gave him, and he's made Knight Titus's new squire. He's then branded by heating up the back of the hand of the power armor, and then putting a T on his back. What the fuck? Okay then. Also, the power armor looks like shit. They assemble, leader Brotherhood of Steel guy gives a speech, and the comically short cheer of yeah is given at the end of it. Knight Titus does a terrible and dumb looking leap into the vertibird, and again the power armor looks like shit. Cut to a guy in a poncho getting killed by a child's toy, because of course he is. And we even get a close-up of the gun, what done it. Hey everybody, it's the junk launcher. You guys remember the junk launcher? So 3 guys are here to dig up some badass ghoul. Why they had to kill Poncho Guy to do this is not explained. They just wanted to show up somebody get killed by the junk launcher, I guess, and because of course they did. So apparently this ghoul is dug up once a year, and the way that they tell if he's a feral or not is because a feral ghoul can't abide a chicken. What the fuck? The fuck do chickens and ghouls have to do with each other? Like, was there even a single solitary fucking chicken in any of the goddamn... You know what? I don't have time to get into all that shit. Alright. I know that the show's going to take some liberty with the lore, but this is getting fucking ridiculous. I'm moving on. So they dig up the coffin and let the ghoul out. Dramatic pauses ensue, and of course, he's not feral. Head guy gives a proposition to join his entourage on a bounty. What's the target? Someone escaped the Enclave. Because of course, the Enclave is in this too. The escapee is fleeing to Moldaver, who happens to be the leader of the raiders who killed Vault 32, attacked Vault 33, and took Lucy's dad. And thus, 2 of our 3 plot lines are converged. They assume the ghoul will be down to join this venture because they'll be heading to California. They're correct, but he decides he wants to go alone and kills them all, burying the last one alive and dropping a stereotypical cowboy one-liner before walking off into the night. And that's it. That's the first episode of Fallout. Well, it could have been a lot worse. I like Lucy's character, and she seems charismatic enough to compel a large number of viewers to be invested in her journey. Maximus is a bit of a wet sock, and the T-60 looks so fucking bad it's distracting. I really wish that they would have held off on so many of the goddamn Easter eggs. It was like Bethesda turned on the reference hose and coated us all in memberberry juice. Goggins is infinitely watchable as the ghoul, although the makeup leaves a bit to be desired. Ghouls tend to look like they are kind of rotting, and Goggins just looks like he got sunburned and then fell asleep face down on a deli meat slicer. Overall, it's meh. It could have been way worse and could be also a lot better. I'll be interested to see where it goes, but I don't have any hopes in seeing the Fallout I personally remember being brought to screen. Fallout 1 was a bit more like Book of Eli, Mad Max, and The Road. It was dark, it was bleak, and yes, it did have its satire and it did have its jokes, but the Wasteland itself wasn't the joke. Now the Wasteland is the joke. And so, newer Fallout fans and normies will probably like this, and the fan base will probably get divided. It's all over again. But honestly, if even a handful of the newer fans that this show might create gets curious enough to check out the games from the beginning, and if we get a good show with compelling characters with the Fallout paint job, I'll call that a win. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I'm currently writing the script for the next episode too, and I'm also working on a video showing how Fallout 1 can be adapted for TV by playing through it a little bit. So hopefully that'll be out soon as well. So what about you guys? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Where my classic Fallout fans at? Leave your comments below. Leave your thoughts. Fight, fight, fight! I want to see some. I want to see blood.